One of the great things about Mother Nature, she knows exactly the right day to arrive. So here we are with winter starting tomorrow, and certainly a bit fresher even on our Sunshine Coast. God help those down to the south, who I'm sure will be getting in their cars and flocking up here in the next little while. I want to just acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather here in Maroochydore and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Good morning everybody, and thank you for being here today. And for those of you who haven't been here for a while, or indeed for the first time, you can see there's fantastic progress being made on the city centre of Maroochydore. And this morning I'm delighted to unveil the proposed concept designs for the new Sunshine Coast City Hall. When it's complete, our council wants the Sunshine Coast City Hall to be a source of pride for our residents and indeed for our region. The beauty of the Sunshine Coast, our deep connection to the hinterland, our mountain ranges and our coastal plains have been the inspiration behind the proposed design concept of the Sunshine Coast City Hall. The Maroochydore City Centre is being transformed into a CBD for the 21st century, and our City Hall will be a very, very important part of that landscape. Located on the site where we're standing, the City Hall will represent our people, our culture, our natural elements and our successes as one of Australia's fastest growing and most progressive regions in the country. It will also reflect our healthy, smart and creative vision for the Sunshine Coast. Coddy Parker architects, who are here with us today, have created a proposed design which reflects the beauty of our region, which we're all fortunate to call home. They've used the magnificent mountain formations located across our region, along with the diversity in our landscapes and our climate, as the foundations for their design. The building will be a signature civic building in the Maroochydore City Centre, encouraging residents and visitors to visit and enjoy all that it has to offer. This will be proudly the home of our local democracy. It will also be a major catalyst for the development of the city centre's commercial core and will play a significant role in activating this area and beyond. A key aspect of Council's architectural brief was to design a building which would allow residents and visitors to observe governance in action, including a view into the Council chamber. Achieving highly sustainable outcomes is a key element of the design concept, and our brief to the architects was to achieve a 5-star Green Star rating, considered by the Green Building Council as Australia's best practice. It is Council's intention to achieve an energy and water efficient building to reflect our vision to be Australia's most sustainable region. Shading elements will protect the building from direct sun, reducing overall running costs while enhancing the textural nature of the facade. As you can see, or as you will see shortly from the artist's impressions, landscaping is also a key feature of the proposed design, reflecting our region's native flora and our geology. In fact, landscaping would rise up the building from the ground level through the urban plaza, the facade, balconies and to the rooftop. Finally, the ground floor design and level 1 council chambers are intended to integrate with the local area. These floors will include public art and tell the Sunshine Coast's cultural heritage story. We'll also aim to deliver a workplace where there is fresh air and flexible indoor and external workspaces. In addition to providing an administration function, City Hall will also activate this part of the city centre and provide commercial spaces that will be accessible to the community. The building will also be a major catalyst for the development of adjoining sites within the city centre. Our new City Hall will be bound by a network of laneways which offer dining and shopping opportunities, as well as landscaping avenues linking the major boulevard of First Avenue through the already developed urban square to our left. This is in keeping with the vibrancy that we look to create in a new city centre. Construction of the City Hall is expected to start mid-next year, subject to final approvals, and Council is in discussions with Economic Development Queensland now on the proposed design, and aspects may change as it works its way through the overall process. But we're very keen to enable the community to see what we're currently proposing as a design for what will be the region's key public building. I look forward to keeping our community updated on the progress of the project When completed in 2022, the City Hall will become the workplace for about 600 council employees. This project is part of a region-wide workplace strategy and will service the community by providing services from the geographic heart of our great region. Whilst at the same time, Council will be maintaining a substantial presence in both Nambour and Caloundra, in keeping with its long-standing commitments to those centres. I believe this proposed design will deliver a building unlike any others on the Sunshine Coast, and hopefully one which will invoke pride in our community and in our city. So, ladies and gentlemen, with those few words, I'm going to unveil this image for you. That'll give you a good insight into what we're planning.
Mark, I might just get you to unveil again, please, mate, if that's okay.
Unveil again.
Take two.
Just do that. Yeah, bring it up here a bit closer. Just so it up there, maybe. Is that enough?
Beautiful.
Get a bit of a rightio. Here we go.
Sound like you haven't seen it.
Okay. All set?
All set.
Too good, Tim?
That was too good on that one, sorry.
There you are. Well done. So, first impressions?
Bloody good.
Thanks, Councillor Robinson. And we've got another one over here. Should we bring it over there as well?
No,
Leave it here?
no.
No.
Do you mind bringing it forward? Just grab my mic, bring it forward. Thanks, mate.
Well, good, we can get this in one shot.
Got that weight point, we'll bring it forward a bit.
Very smart.
Okay, happy to take questions.
And there's more.
Oh, sorry. While we're featuring unravelling more, should we bring it down there a bit further? I'm assuming this is a full out one. Yeah, there we go. Give me that one. That's another one here, Marie. Give me that one. I'll hold it here.
Here you go. That's the same as someone.
There you go. Rightio. Happy to take any questions.
So obviously the council committing to this
Sorry.
Great.
Thanks, Marie. Ready?
Yep. Fire away.
So obviously the council committing to the new city centre is a great vote of confidence. What would you say to other companies who are wondering about whether they should be here and what it will mean to be in the new city centre?
Well, that's a very good question and a great way to start, because there are other companies already committed to being here in the city centre with us. Indeed, a new building will get underway very shortly. I think I'm turning the sod for it next week in Foundation Place. But obviously, we want to encourage investment, and that's why we've recently gone out through Sun Central with an expression of interest for other major parties to take a foothold in the new city centre now that we've got it thus far. And it will be incredibly important for our region to have an identifiable city centre, an area where people will go to undertake commerce, they'll go for civic events, they'll come here for major community events, and whether that's celebrating, the Sunshine Coast Lightning's third premiership, or the Falcons premiership, or some other major achievement. Perhaps it'll be a bit soon when we're announced as perhaps the world's most intelligent community in a couple of weeks' time. But this will be an incredibly important part of the city around business and economics, around tourism, around the civic elements of this region, and be a really important part of our rate base into the future as well. And not to mention the fact that there will be 4,000 apartments, so around about perhaps 10,000 people living here, and maybe another couple of thousand at any given time staying in hotels and the like to attend major events.
And so obviously the design concepts are fairly modern and they look fantastic. Is that how you envisage the whole city centre is going to look? You want that really sort of cutting edge urban design?
Yeah, well, I think it's a contemporary city, and it's a very rare event in an Australian context to build a new greenfield city. Most Australian cities started in the middle and grew out. Ours actually started on the outside and grew in. So we've got this opportunity, and what you're standing on here today, under the ground, is an incredible array of high technology, that cabling that will wire this city like no other city in the country. And just over here to our right, we've of course got the broadband undersea cable landing station, which will connect us to the rest of the world, and in terms of connection to Asia, be the closest connection possible.
By 2022, with the new City Hall complete, what other projects do you imagine will be complete by then, along with this one?
Oh, look, obviously we'll hopefully have new commercial buildings, office towers, a new hotel, maybe a couple of new hotels, obviously some more commercial buildings. There's a range of parties that are dealing with Sun Central who are looking to take a position up in the city centre. And by August, we'll be giving our citizens an opportunity to drive through here so they too can get a better perspective of exactly what's happening.
The council decided not to have an architectural competition or put out, for designs, a design competition. Do you stand by that decision now with the design that you have for the City Hall?
Absolutely. I'm very happy with the work that's been done. I think all of the councillors and our council staff who've been actively engaged with industry experts in terms of what's important. I think whilst there's a certain symbolism that goes with the council building in terms of, as I said earlier, the local seat of democracy, at the end of the day, it's an important workplace. And it'll house about 600 council staff initially, and it'll be developed so that we can expand that in time should that be necessary. But it also means that there'll be other lettable commercial space in that building as well. But I'm more than happy with the results that we've got based on the work that's been undertaken by council staff, councillors and industry experts.
Can public have their say on this now? What's the next steps?
Well, the next step will be to go to the market and finalise a price, and then once all the contractual details have been done, we've got the final sign-off from EDQ and our architectural reference group will be underway.
You touched on it briefly, but what will the spaces in Nambour and Caloundra be used for when this is up and running?
Yeah, well, obviously they're two very important areas for us, and that is a work in progress in terms of exactly the final uses for those facilities. But clearly there'll still be a significant number of council staff in both areas, around about a couple of hundred people in each area. We've got a master plan out for the development of Caloundra because we see that as being absolutely critical, but so too do we see that in Nambour as well. So there are parties engaged with council about how we might use that space into the future. But we give an undertaking to those communities that we are a broad church in terms of the region we administer, and therefore we need to be carefully catering for the needs of those respective communities. Difficult to do it all at once because ultimately there's only so much money to go around, but I'm very happy with the planning we've got and indeed the heavy involvement of councillors in the programs of development for Nambour and for Caloundra.
Will you still be mayor when this building is built? Have you decided whether you're going to be running again in the election?
Right at the moment, my sole focus is on getting the budget sorted out, which will be later on in June. We've only just had a federal election and we're still seeing the outcomes of that. So I'll make my decision in good time. Thank you.
So you did a tour of the site just before today. What do you think how do you think it's progressing? Is it looking how you thought it would look? Does it look better than you thought it would look?
Look, I've visited here many times since it was a golf course, obviously. And every time I come here, I think, gee, that's changed. And that's understandable, I guess, because it is changing rapidly. But you just need to find your perspective sometimes and think, well, hold on, what was here before? And more importantly, what will be here in the future? And I think that's the key thing, and the thing that should get Sunshine Coast people really excited. It is, as I said, we've been a community of communities that over the years have grown together. We've now got this wonderful opportunity, more or less in the sort of geographic heart of the most heavily populated part of the Sunshine Coast, to develop that local seat of democracy that our community can be proud of. It will be surrounded, over time, it's a 20-year project, surrounded by other significant buildings that will play a vital role in our future and employment for today's citizens and their families into the future.
You touched on it earlier. Can you talk us through some of the environmental credentials of the building? You mentioned fresh airflow. I can see a lot of greenery there with
Yes.
solar power. Just talk us through some of those.
Yeah, you can see solar powering on the roof there. It's designed to be a 5-star Green Star rating. That was essential for councils. We want to set an example in this region. It will have a strong focus of solar energy. The facade will be set up in an array of blades that will help limit the impact of the sun, so therefore limiting the need for air conditioning at different times of the day and different times of the year. But this really will be a point of reference in the future for lots of other levels of government looking to build buildings that are sustainable, creative, places to work, offer employees the opportunity of working indoors or in fact outdoors, and is a real representation of our broader region in terms of our geology. If you think about the Glasshouse Mountains or Mount Coolum or Mount Ninderry, you know, people will read into this design what they will and what they love about the Sunshine Coast and those really unique aspects of our geology.
We have the technology conference in town at the moment. What challenges is the Sunshine Coast facing that you've learned from that in terms of renewables and sustainability?
Well, I attended the meeting yesterday to welcome our visitors, and in particular Aaron, the Deputy Lord Mayor of Melbourne, who's the conference chair. And look, I think the event is being staged on the Sunshine Coast because they recognise us as Australian leaders. And they had spent the previous day going around looking at the city centre, looking at the airport, looking at the solar farm, and quite frankly couldn't believe what the local government in this area were undertaking and the projects that were at hand. So I think it's a real feather in our cap that they see the Sunshine Coast as a leader, and I was there talking to representatives yesterday from some councils who said, you know, we see this region as leading the way in sustainability, leading the way in its ability to forge a really strong economy that gives people great confidence for the future around investments like this, but at the same time has got the most significant conservation estate in southeast Queensland, is focused on the protection of the interurban break, has got the largest number of land for wildlife programs in the country, properties in the country, amongst a myriad of other things. And they marvelled at the fact that already on the Sunshine Coast we've built our own utility scale solar farm, but our residents, 40% of them have got solar, compared to only 20% elsewhere in the country. So, you know, we are a leader, and I think my agenda for the future, and I know the councils feel the same, is to help our community understand how well we're doing. And sometimes it's useful to go away and have a look what's going on elsewhere to really appreciate how well this region is doing. So, you know, I pay tribute to the councillors and to our council staff who are constantly focused on delivering for this region and setting the bar very high.
Mayor, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was around about August, people will be able to start seeing what's actually happening on the site. How important is that for people to be able to start to look at the site, walk the site, feel the site, and take some ownership of what's happening?
Well, clearly it's very important, and it'll be the same experience for a lot of those people arriving for the first time thinking, gee, what used to be here, particularly members of the Horton Park Golf Club. and how much it has changed. And we want people's input into that. One of the things that people will notice most importantly will be the improved traffic flow as a consequence. Now, we're far from having completed all the roadways, particularly the north-south access, but go right back to tours. The original idea around purchasing this land was to improve the traffic flow in Maroochydore, north, south, east, west. And along the way we thought, well, guess what, we can build a city to go with it. So, that is a big improvement. And when, with the road work that's been done on Aerodrome Road, when people can come straight through into the city and then depart out through here, that will take a lot of pressure off that intersection. And as those roadways develop, and they will be down through Mundu Boulevard to cross the canal and then carry on further to provide that north-south access, that will open up a lot of the residential opportunities as well. So, and we're looking for people to come and give us their views. I think we'll see, more potential investment flow from that as well.
The 2040 airport plan was launched yesterday. Has to go before council. Will council consider this plan to only have one runway? Will council reconsider some of the aviators' concerns and have two operating?
Well, my answer today is I don't really want to touch on the airport because I don't want to undermine the very important announcement here today around the city centre. So if we can leave that for another day, I'll be happy to discuss it then.
Will it have underground parking?
No, we're building all at grade and above, so there'll be podium parking as part of this building.
And where will that be? Behind it? Or?
No, it's actually in there.
Okay.
So pretty smart looking car park. Okay, all done. Thank you very much.